This now 555 people have unfortunately died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. There's also been nearly 9,000 positive cases, and this as we pass the peak of the third wave. So are we ready for a fourth wave? Let's discuss this with Ridhwaan Suliman, a senior researcher at the CSIR. Ridhwaan, thank you for your time and good morning to you. Let's talk about this. I mean, the Western Cape province had been trailing behind Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, but it seems this is not the case at this moment.
Good morning, Tumelo. Indeed, Western Cape and the coastal provinces were about 3 to 4 weeks behind the trajectory of Gauteng, which previously was the epicenter of the third wave in South Africa. Western Cape now is the epicenter, reporting the highest number of cases, an average of just over 3,100 cases per day over the past week, surpassing Gauteng, which has reported an average of 2,800 cases per day over the past week. Bearing in mind that Western Cape's population size is less than half that of Gauteng, certainly the outbreak is of concern at the moment in Western Cape. The case incidence rate is at 45 new cases on average per day over the past week, almost as high as what it was at its peak during the previous wave. And it's not just about cases, the hospital admissions are also on the rise in Western Cape. Hospitals, we're seeing reports that many of them are already being stretched. And unfortunately, the number of deaths reported in the province is also rising, an average of 110 deaths per day in Western Cape over the past week. So certainly of concern.
It is of concern because when we look at the numbers, Ridhwaan, I mean, these are the facts at this point. The province reported just over 40,000 active cases, over 408,000 confirmed cases, as well as 353,000, just over that, recoveries as from yesterday. Does this mean that we should expect a fourth wave? Is that imminent?
Look, at this stage, we probably still need to get over the third wave. We certainly aren't out of the woods just yet, particularly in the coastal provinces of Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, as well as Northern Cape, all still on the rise and haven't reached the peak of their third wave. So that needs to remain the priority at this stage. And we know hospital admissions will continue to increase as we're still seeing a rise in cases in these provinces. And unfortunately, we still will see a lot more deaths in the coming month, given the rise that we're seeing. Beyond that, if we look at the previous, the past three waves now in the country, we've seen that it's been quite a regular cyclical pattern where each wave has lasted about 3 months with approximately 3 months in between. So given just that trajectory, we're likely to probably start seeing a resurgence again later towards the end of the year. Of course, there's so many unknowns and so many different factors at play, how possibly the virus may mutate, what variants may come about, or what level of immunity we have. So there's a lot of unknowns, but I think given the previous trajectories, the expectation is, yes, unfortunately, a fourth wave may be likely come November, December again.
Yeah, we can talk about, the active cases without talking about the vaccination drive. How's that going just in terms of administration?
Look, I'm not keeping as close an eye on the vaccination numbers, more just on the other epidemiological indicators. But suffice to say, certainly the rollout has picked up over the last few weeks. I believe we've inoculated close to 8 million people, at least with a single dose. We are administering both the single dose J&J as well as the 2-dose Pfizer vaccines. So almost 8 million people have received at least 1 dose of the vaccination thus far.
Yeah, and also, I mean, when we look at the infection rate there, we can't ignore the numbers when it comes to the recovery rate, Ridhwaan. Is it promising? Are South Africans recovering well, just in terms of numbers, in terms of the recovery rate, the recovery percentage, as compared to the infections and the active cases we have so far?
Look, recoveries will lag because one, it takes time for someone to recover, and secondly, I think the reporting of recoveries does vary between provinces and also nationally. So sometimes there may be some provinces report recoveries quicker than others, which may be a bit delayed to report recoveries. So I wouldn't look too much into that particular indicator. I think suffice to say that the recovery percentage will increase after the surge in cases starts to decline. Nationally, we certainly are seeing a decline in the number of cases, and so that recovery rate will increase. I think the other concern with recovery is it doesn't quite take into account that many do suffer from long COVID, so it's more an indication of people that are no longer infectious rather than fully recovered.
All right, we'll leave it there. Ridhwaan Suliman, senior CSIR researcher, joining us there just to give us an update on the latest COVID-19 infections, as well as now the Western Cape seemingly, just reaching its peak there ahead of Gauteng as well as KwaZulu-Natal.